Picture a world where every second of your day revolves around the chase for pleasure. Envision the promise of endless gratification, a continuous flow of entertainment, distractions, and indulgences tailored to satisfy your every desire. Now, pause and ask yourself, what would you be willing to give for this? Could this unyielding pursuit of happiness lead not to liberation, but to a form of enslavement? Today, we'll dive into how the relentless quest for pleasure, as forewarned by Aldous Huxley, can turn into a modern form of slavery. Together, we'll examine timeless wisdom and contemporary psychology to uncover how our craving for comfort, ease, and gratification may be quietly stealing away our freedom and even our humanity. By the end of this video, you'll gain a profound insight or perspective that could transform the way you view your life forever. Join us as we explore the hidden dangers of pleasure and the steps we can take to reclaim our freedom in a world designed to keep us chained to fleeting desires. In his seminal work Brave New World, Aldous Huxley paints a haunting picture of a dystopia where humanity has willingly surrendered its autonomy for the illusion of happiness. In this world, citizens are pacified by soma, a drug that keeps them content, no matter how devoid of meaning their lives have become. Huxley's dystopia wasn't built on prisons or chains, but instead on pleasures so intoxicating that no one bothered to resist. He warned that this, in fact, is the most insidious form of control. Now reflect on the society we live in, from the endless scroll of social media to the constant ping of notifications. Aren't we, too, being offered our own version of soma? Psychologists like Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, famous for his work on the concept of flow, caution that while technology offers moments of engagement, it also traps us in cycles of addictive behavior. Algorithms curate pleasures, videos, ads, and content designed to hook us, yet these often leave us feeling empty. Think about it. How often do you reach for your phone to experience a quick burst of joy, only to find hours have slipped away, leaving you drained rather than fulfilled? The pursuit of pleasure has a dark side. Modern psychology refers to this as the hedonic treadmill, the idea that no matter how much happiness we achieve, we quickly adapt to it, returning to a baseline level of contentment. Whether it's a new car, a delicious meal, or a thrilling experience, the initial joy fades, and the craving for the next fix begins. In Huxley's terms, we become prisoners of our own desires, endlessly chasing satisfaction that remains just out of reach. This isn't just an abstract concept. Research reveals a disturbing link between the rise of modern conveniences and the decline of mental health. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Affective Disorders found that excessive screen time, particularly on social media, correlates with higher rates of anxiety and depression. What's even more troubling is how this cycle perpetuates itself. The more disconnected and unhappy we feel, the more we seek solace in the very devices that deepen our misery. So, what is the true cost of this relentless pursuit of pleasure? Philosopher Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and author of Man's Search for Meaning, argued that genuine fulfillment doesn't stem from chasing happiness, but from discovering purpose. He believed that when people lack meaning in their lives, they are more prone to distractions, which only intensify their existential void. Ask yourself, are you living with purpose, or has the pursuit of pleasure quietly taken control of your choices? This isn't just a philosophical question, it's a profoundly practical one. Every day, we're faced with small decisions. Should we binge another series, or spend meaningful time with loved ones? Should we scroll endlessly, or invest in personal growth? These seemingly trivial choices accumulate, shaping the framework of our lives. Huxley once remarked, most human beings have an almost infinite capacity for taking things for granted. In chasing constant pleasure, we risk overlooking the deeper joys of life, relationships, creativity, self-discovery, and contributing to something greater than ourselves. This brings us to a critical realization. When pursued recklessly, pleasure doesn't lead to freedom, it creates invisible chains. These chains bind us to habits, cravings, and distractions that drain our energy, time, and potential. As we continue, we'll uncover the hidden systems that profit from our addiction to pleasure and discuss how we can break free. For now, reflect on this. Are you living as a free individual, or are you merely a consumer in a world thriving on your desires? Let this question guide you as we delve deeper into this journey of understanding and self-liberation. Imagine a marketplace where your attention is the currency. Here, The most valuable commodity isn't gold, or oil, or even technology, it's you. Every moment spent scrolling, clicking, or consuming doesn't just engage you with content, it turns you into a product being bought and sold. Welcome to the attention economy, a system that thrives on your addiction to pleasure, locking you into an endless cycle of consumption. To understand the depth of this system's control, we need to consider how it exploits our biology. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky, an expert in stress and dopamine research, explains how our brains are wired to seek rewards. Each time we experience something pleasurable, dopamine is released, reinforcing the behavior, whether it's the satisfaction of likes on a post, the thrill of a new purchase, or the rush of winning a game. But here's the catch. The anticipation of pleasure often triggers more dopamine than the pleasure itself. This is why we obsessively refresh our feeds or eagerly await a text reply. It's not the outcome, but the possibility of reward that keeps us hooked. This is how the attention economy transforms us into perpetual seekers, always yearning, never satisfied. Think about your own habits. Have you ever checked your phone without realizing it? Or crave something, a snack, a video, a moment of validation, only to feel empty afterward? These moments aren't random, they're the result of carefully engineered experiences. Tristan Harris, a former Google design ethicist, explains how platforms exploit our vulnerabilities using intermittent variable rewards, a principle borrowed from slot machines to keep us addicted. Let's connect this to Huxley's vision. In Brave New World, the pursuit of pleasure wasn't just a personal failing, it was a societal tool for control. People became so consumed by their desires that they failed to notice the erosion of their autonomy. Are we facing the same threat today? While we may not be taking soma, digital distractions serve a similar function to pacify us and keep us compliant. But why does this matter so much? Because unchecked, the pursuit of pleasure doesn't just rob us of time, it steals our potential. When we prioritize fleeting gratification over meaningful pursuits, we sacrifice growth, learning, and contribution. Author Cal Newport, in his book Deep Work, emphasizes how shallow engagement with technology diminishes our ability to focus and achieve mastery. He argues that the greatest rewards in life don't come from fleeting pleasures, but from sustained effort and deep concentration. Think about it. How much of your time is dedicated to activities that genuinely enrich your life? How often do you prioritize immediate gratification over long-term fulfillment? These questions aren't meant to provoke guilt, but to awaken awareness. Recognizing our patterns is the first step toward reclaiming our freedom. Yet breaking free isn't easy. The system we live in doesn't just encourage pleasure seeking, it normalizes it. From advertisements promising instant happiness to cultural messages equating success with material wealth, we're constantly told that more is better. Philosopher Erich Fromm, in his book To Have or To Be, warned of this trap. He argued that modern society's fixation on possession over being leads to a shallow existence, where true joy is replaced by the hollow satisfaction of ownership. So, what's the alternative? It starts with a shift in mindset from seeking pleasure to seeking purpose. This doesn't mean abandoning joy or indulgence entirely, but rethinking their role in your life. As psychologist Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, has demonstrated, the most fulfilling lives are built on meaning, engagement, and relationships. Pleasure plays a role in this equation, but it's only a part, not the whole. Take a moment to reflect. What brings you genuine joy? Not the fleeting kind of happiness that fades quickly, but the deeper satisfaction that comes from creating, connecting, or contributing. Can you identify one area of your life where you've been prioritizing short-term gratification over long-term growth? As we continue, we'll explore practical ways to break free from the chains of the attention economy and rediscover the power of intentional living. For now, hold on to this truth. The unchecked pursuit of pleasure doesn't lead to liberation, it creates a new kind of slavery. To be truly free, we must learn to differentiate between what delights us and what destroys us. The answers to these questions don't lie in the next distraction, but in the quiet moments of self-reflection. Let's keep going, uncovering how we can reclaim our time, our focus, and ultimately, our lives. What's coming next may challenge everything you think you know about happiness and freedom. Now, let's delve deeper into the psychological and philosophical consequences of a life built around the pursuit of pleasure. If there's one thing we've learned from thinkers like Aldous Huxley and modern psychologists, it's this: unchecked hedonism doesn't just enslave individuals, it reshapes entire societies. Consider the concept of soft tyranny. This term describes a form of control that feels comforting rather than oppressive. Alexis de Tocqueville, in his analysis of democratic societies, warned that people might one day willingly surrender their freedoms in exchange for comfort and security. This is the exact world Huxley envisioned in Brave New World, a society lulled into complacency, not through fear or force, but through pleasure and distraction. Now, take a hard look at our world. Every day, we're bombarded with promises of ease, smart devices that think for us, apps that deliver instant gratification, and a culture that glorifies convenience above all else. While these advancements make life more comfortable, they also render us increasingly dependent. The less effort we put into living, the more power we hand over to those controlling these systems. The hidden danger here is that this dependence doesn't feel like enslavement, it feels like progress. It feels good, and that's what makes it so insidious. As Huxley once wrote, a really efficient totalitarian state would be one in which the all-powerful executive of political bosses and their army of managers control a population of slaves who do not have to be coerced because they love their servitude. Think about your own life. How many of your decisions are freely made, and how many are influenced or even dictated by algorithms, trends, or societal expectations? When was the last time you chose discomfort for the sake of growth, rather than taking the path of least resistance? This issue isn't just personal, it has societal consequences. A culture obsessed with pleasure ripples outward, affecting relationships, communities, and even the planet. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard described this as the despair of the aesthetic life, where individuals prioritize beauty and pleasure at the expense of meaning and responsibility. He believed true fulfillment could only be found by embracing the ethical life, a life rooted in purpose, commitment, and higher ideals. Let's make this practical. Imagine two paths. One is smooth, paved, and easy to walk. It leads to a life of instant gratification, but offers little substance. The other is rocky, steep, and challenging. It requires effort and sacrifice, but rewards you with growth, connection, and legacy. Which path are you walking right now? Modern psychology supports Kierkegaard's insights. Studies show that people who focus on intrinsic goals, like personal growth, relationships, and contributing to others, report higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction than those who chase extrinsic rewards, such as wealth, fame, or status. Yet our culture constantly pushes us toward the latter. Why? Because a society built on consumerism depends on dissatisfaction. If you were truly content, you wouldn't need the latest gadget, trend, or product. This is why advertisers don't just sell products, they sell lifestyles. They convince you that happiness is always just one purchase away. But here's the truth: no amount of external pleasure can fill an internal void. This is why so many people, even those who seem to have everything they've ever wanted, still feel empty. Psychologist Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." The relentless pursuit of pleasure often distracts us from the harder, but far more rewarding work of self-discovery. So, how do we break free from this trap? It starts with awareness. We must learn to recognize the systems and habits that keep us enslaved to pleasure. But awareness alone isn't enough. We also need to take deliberate, sometimes uncomfortable, steps to reclaim our lives. Start small. Turn off notifications. Set boundaries with technology. Choose meaningful activities over mindless distractions. These small actions may seem insignificant, but in a world designed to keep you distracted, they are acts of revolution. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you prioritized meaning over pleasure? What habits or mindsets would you need to shift to walk the path of growth rather than gratification? As we move into the final part of this journey, we'll uncover the ultimate insight, the key to breaking free from the chains of pleasure. This revelation has the potential to transform not only how you live, but who you are. Stay with us. The most important lesson is still to come. Let us now face the core of the issue. How do we reclaim our freedom, a world that thrives on our addiction to pleasure? The answer lies in understanding a profound truth. True freedom doesn't come from doing whatever we want, it comes from having the discipline to choose what truly matters. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." This insight is essential to liberation. When we anchor our lives to a deeper purpose, the fleeting pull of pleasure loses its power over us. Purpose acts as a compass, guiding us past distractions and temptations toward a life of significance. Consider the lives of visionaries like Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, or Martin Luther King Jr. Their greatness didn't come from seeking comfort, but from embracing struggle in the service of something far greater than themselves. They remind us that the most profound joys often arise not from indulgence, but from acts of service, creativity, and perseverance. So, how do we find our why in a world pulling us in countless directions? Viktor Frankl offers a path forward. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, he identifies 3 sources of purpose: creating something of value, experiencing love and human connection, and finding growth through suffering. Each of these requires us to look beyond our immediate desires and engage deeply with life. Start by asking yourself these questions. What legacy do I want to leave behind? How can I use my strengths to contribute to others? When faced with difficulty, how can I transform it into an opportunity for growth? These aren't easy questions, but they are transformative. In seeking answers, you take the first steps toward breaking free from the chains of pleasure and stepping into a life of purpose. Now, let's address the ultimate insight, the one that ties everything together. The pursuit of pleasure, while tempting, is ultimately a distraction from the deeper pursuit of meaning. As Aristotle believed, true happiness comes from eudaimonia, a flourishing life. This is not a life of endless pleasure, but one aligned with virtue, wisdom, and intentionality. To live such a life, we must cultivate discipline. Discipline is the ability to choose long-term rewards over short-term gratification. It's the strength to say no to what is easy and yes to what is meaningful. As author Jocko Willink puts it, discipline equals freedom. Through discipline, we gain mastery over our impulses and begin living as creators of our destinies, rather than as prisoners of our desires. To build discipline, start with small, consistent habits. Wake up a little earlier to meditate or reflect. Set aside time each day to work toward a meaningful goal. Limit your exposure to distractions that drain your attention and energy. These small acts of self-control may seem insignificant, but they create a ripple effect that can reshape your life. Another powerful practice is to embrace discomfort. Growth rarely happens in comfort zones. Whether it's pushing your physical limits, learning a new skill, or confronting a hard truth, the willingness to endure discomfort is what distinguishes those who achieve greatness from those who settle for mediocrity. Think about it. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, you strengthen your ability to live with purpose. Every time you resist distractions, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. These small moments of choice, though seemingly minor, are acts of defiance against a world that profits from your complacency. As we conclude, let's return to Aldous Huxley's warning. He envisioned a world where pleasure was used as a tool of control, a world where people traded their freedom for comfort and their potential for convenience. But Huxley also believed in humanity's capacity for awareness and resistance. You have the power to break free. By choosing purpose over pleasure, discipline over indulgence, and meaning over distraction, you can reclaim your autonomy and live a life of true fulfillment. So, what will you choose? Will you continue to follow the easy path dictated by fleeting desires, or will you rise above it, embracing the challenge of living with intention and purpose? The choice is yours. And remember, this journey isn't just about improving your own life, it's about inspiring others to do the same. Share your thoughts, your struggles, and your victories. Together, we can create a world where freedom isn't just an ideal, but a lived reality. This is your moment to awaken. The chains may be invisible, but they can be broken. The path ahead is steep, but it leads to greatness. Choose wisely. Step boldly into the life you were meant to live.